Rolling. All right, guys. So now we'll make it official. So welcome. Sorry for the couple-minute delay there getting started. We wanted to get out and make some announcements on the Skype groups and the Facebook group and everything, let people know that we're getting started. So we'll probably see some more bodies here floating in any minute now. We're going to do some really fun stuff today. I'm really excited about it, actually. Have not yet been able to train on this specific topic, and I've been kind of holding it in my back pocket for a while. So for those of you who, first of all, let me do a little bit of quick housekeeping. Right now, let's see, we have, so we do these calls, first of all, every Friday. We call it Finish Strong Friday. They're oriented towards mindset. We're going to get a little bit more into some strategic, it's more of a philosophy today than anything else, but I want to share some things with you that I think they're going to help you immensely in your business, but also in your life. Right now, everybody's coming in muted. And if you do have, we have a small enough group that if you do have a question along the way, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself. There's a button in your lower left-hand corner. If you're looking at the screen that shows all of our smiling faces, smile everyone, so we have smiling faces. There we go. All right, all of our smiling faces, you'll see in the lower left-hand corner, scroll your mouse over, you'll have a control bar. And on the very left side is a mute button. It should already have a red slash through it. And in addition to that, there is a chat bubble. And the chat is right here. I'm just going to go ahead and type into the chat, although my system is really dragging here all of a sudden. Hope that doesn't mess me up later. But this is the chat. So you can chat your questions into there as well. If you prefer not to be on camera or on voice, you can always do that. Type your questions in, your comments. This is an interactive training. And I like to think that all of our trainings are interactive, but on Friday, we definitely want your input. And, we don't ever consider ourselves to be the smartest people in the room. And, we always have people on who have something to contribute and, something that can improve these calls. So again, this is our Friday. It's a call to success call. It's actually part of our Coaching for Life program now as well. So if there's anybody here involved with the Coaching for Life, I want to welcome you as well. Congratulations for making that decision and being part of our community. My name is Jeffrey Howard. I'm a VIP mentor here with 8-Figure Dream Lifestyle and have been involved with 8-Figure now for about coming to the end of 17 months. I am thrilled and proud as I could be to be a mentor in this community and love the community overall. Eric and I have been mentors for about a year. Now, a little over a year now. I think it was March of last year after the San Diego event, and just love this part. In fact, this is my favorite training of the week. It allows me to kind of do the things that I really enjoy the most, which is to help people with their mindset and just, core belief systems. And mindset, the reason we focus on mindset so much is because, as we say over and over on these trainings, about 90% of what's going to happen in your business or even in your life is going to be directly correlated to what's going on in your head. And so you're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days. We all do. Clearly, we have people on the line here. We've got, combined experience, life experience. If I had to take a shot at it, I'd say moving into the centuries if we added it all up. And, not only is that a great contribution to bring to the community, but also, again, some of us have come in with things that have worked for us over time. Some are coming in with things that are not working for us and have been not working for us for a long time. And so our goal here is to help you to find ways to make your life work better, to make your business work better, to generally just upgrade your life. So that's kind of what we're all about here on Fridays. As far as background, I think most of you here know my background, but I've been involved with this industry now in fact, I can actually finally say it. On the Tuesday of this week, I celebrated my 22nd anniversary of the last day I fired my boss. Haven't had a job for 22 years, guys. Been on this serial entrepreneur roller coaster for all that time. A lot of ups and downs, but a lot of really great stuff in the process, and I would not have traded it for the world. So all about the time freedom aspect that this brings, the creativity outlet. There's so many different aspects about this that, with 8-Figure Dream Lifestyle just really lets us to blossom and flow with that. So before we go into the actual training, I want to hand the ball over to my business partner here and accountability partner, my good friend, Mr. Eric Jacobson, get a little background on himself, and then we'll get this thing going.
Right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Eric Jacobson. Live in Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota. Beautiful and sunny here. If you guys want to visit, now is the time. From now for the next 5 months, it's time to come here. It's gorgeous. I'm married. I've been married for 27 years, coming up on 28 years. I've got a 15-year-old son. Been involved with eight figure, like Jeff said, for about 16 months for me, roughly, and a little bit after Jeff, and it's been life-changing, been a phenomenal experience, and love being a mentor, love being on these calls. Excited about what we're going to talk about today. Jeff's going to be leading today's Zoom meeting for the most part. I'll be chiming in where I can, but this is going to be very, very useful training today. This is going to be more of something you can use tactically starting today in your business. And it's going to help you immensely to be able to relate to more people and to understand where people are coming from when you're giving them the information that you're giving them, and how they're going to best consume it, and how people consume information differently. And really, sometimes you'll be talking to somebody and what you're saying makes absolute perfect sense to you, and you just can't understand why it is that person doesn't see it your way, and the truth is they see it a different way. They see it completely different. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff and let you lead off with that, and we'll go from there.
And now for something completely different. Exactly. So how many of you have run into that where you feel like you're just being crystal clear about conveying your idea, and it falls completely on what appear to be deaf ears, or you feel like you're hitting a brick wall? Go ahead and type into the chat if that's ever happened to you. And please, if it's not happened to you, tell me how you did that. Are you not talking to anyone ever? Because that's the only way I could see that not happening. So go ahead and type it into the chat. Eric, I'm going to mute you for a second here and unmute you if you need it, if you need to. Not yet. Oh, I'm not talking about in business. I'm talking about in anything, John. Okay, gotcha. All right. So first of all, before we get into this whole concept, the topic of today is really about personality. Okay, it's about personality as a general topic. So I'm going to break it up into two segments. First, I'm going to talk about just personality as a whole, and then I'm going to get into something really, really fascinating for me, and I hopefully for you too. Hopefully, I can convey that fascination to you, and that is personality typing or personality types.
So Jeff, yes. Can you give controls to me also, so that I can control the mute and unmute and stuff like that?
Yeah. Give me a second here. Boom. So I'm just going to hand the whole host over to you. So if you have to leave, you got to flip it back to me. Okay. You're muted too, by the way. All right. Awesome. So let's talk about personality. And, we tend to do a lot of, we weave in a lot of things from both current technology and science of mindset and brain function, all the way through things that are ancient in nature. And we like to combine the two things. So you've heard both of us talk about, well, I'm sure you're all familiar with Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich was actually, for me, there it is, boom, just like that. Just like it was on cue. And it totally was not on cue, actually. It's just right there on his desk. That book, that little paperback book, was handed to me when I was a junior in high school, when I was 17 years old. And I'm not ashamed to say that was over 40 years ago. That was over 40 years ago. Actually, having my 40th class reunion this summer. So as a junior in high school, somebody gave me the gift of this book called Think and Grow Rich. I don't even remember, honestly, who it was. It was a relative. It was but it wasn't my parents. So I read this book. I've read it over and over and over. Napoleon Hill and his laws of success have been something that's been a go-to concept for me forever. If you've read Think and Grow Rich, by the way, type in the chat. Yes, I've read it. Yes, I read it. I'd be really interested in knowing who else has had this experience. So I'm not going to get into all the various. I mean, he has this 21 components, or actually 17 principles of success. I'm going to talk about one. And I believe it's number 5, and it is develop a pleasing personality. So, you may think that you are the personality you were born with, or the one that you have adapted or adopted over the course of your life, and that's who you are. And, quite frankly, I'm too old to change is not an excuse that anybody should really use at this point anymore in their lives. And not that you ever should have, but there was a fallback position for my grandparents' generation. Okay. So you have the ability to change whatever you choose to change, but pleasing personality, you have the ability to develop a pleasing personality if you don't have one already. If you do have one already, then you have the ability to raise the bar for yourself, to improve on that. So I'm going to go through some of the components of what that actually means. And then we're going to talk about personalities from more of a scientific perspective, more of a psychological perspective, and why your message may be falling on deaf ears based on these concepts. So here are the traits of a pleasing personality. You've probably heard this before. And you may or may not know that it was originated by Napoleon Hill, but positive mental attitude, or PMA, the positive mental attitude. That opens the door and allows you to display your skills, your ambitions. Imagine like somebody who's presenting, business in a meeting room, with great confidence, or a lawyer in front of a courtroom, gaining the ear of a judge or jury because he or she is distinctively self-assured, has a positive mental attitude, the ability, like the knowing, the actual knowing that they're going to have a positive outcome. So positive mental attitude is the first component of a pleasing personality. Flexibility, that lets you allow yourself to adapt quickly to changing circumstances and situations without having to panic or lose your temper or lose your composure. Now, I particularly want you to focus on flexibility as you think about what we talk about today, because flexibility is going to be a core component of what I'm going to teach you about interacting with different personality types. Sincerity of purpose. So start with yourself and you'll steadily grow in self-reliance. It strengthens every other aspect about your pleasing personality. Sincerity, definiteness of purpose. I'm having a hard time putting my words together today. Okay, here we go. Definiteness of purpose. Yes, sincerity of purpose. It's focus. It's the thing that is like your compass in your life. Promptness of decision, the ability to make a decision definitely and quickly. Okay, so this is something that I think a lot of people have trouble with, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Prompt decision making is also supported by your positive mental attitude and also by your definiteness of purpose, because you're confident that your outcome can be achieved. You're confident that you can do the thing that it is that you need to do. Making a decision, moving that forward should be simple and easy for you. Courtesy. I mean, this kind of goes without...
Yeah, you called me the first time. And...
You got that, Eric? Thank you, sir. Okay. Courtesy, yeah. So I started to say this is something that seems like it should go without saying. Unfortunately, it seems these days that basic, human interactive component is kind of getting lost in the divisiveness of our current culture. And so showing basic courtesy is simply just a habit of respecting other people's feelings or beliefs under all circumstances, a habit of going out of your way to help people less fortunate than you, and having some control over your selfishness, your own perspective, your own point of view. Again, this is going to apply to some things I'm going to talk about here in a little while. Tact. So look, there's a right time and a wrong time for things. And so tact is the habit of doing and saying the right thing at the right moment. And it's very closely related to courtesy. So you're not talking over people. You're not interrupting to throw in your ideas. This is an invaluable skill. It's just as noticeable for its absence as it is for its presence. Absence of tact, in fact, might be a little more dominant. It might be a little easier to notice. So here's a big one. And because we do a lot of our work by the telephone, or at least most of us do, tone of voice. The speech is the way, like, this is how people are going to first receive you. Your tone of voice, your pace of your voice, the confidence in your voice. This is how we express our personality. So controlling the tone of your voice so that it carries meaning beyond the words is very important to communication and to developing this thing that we're calling a pleasing personality. Be in the habit of smiling, okay? So again, we do a lot of our work by phone. Why should I smile? Well, do you know why you should smile? First of all, it changes your brain chemistry. When you're out in the world, the habit of smiling is, look, I would defy anybody to go out, smile at someone, and not see a in-kind response, a reciprocal response. People smile back. You smile, people smile back. It's an immediate connection with somebody. Why is it important if you're talking to somebody over the phone? Well, close your eyes for a second, because right now you're seeing me and you can tell whether I'm smiling or not, but just close your eyes for a second. Here, I'll make it actually really easy for you. I'm gonna turn off my video for a second. Okay, so right now, I'm just going to deliver my information to you in just a nice flat tone, and you can tell the difference between me delivering my information to you in a tone with a smile on my face. Now, could anybody not tell a tone difference in my voice? I said basically the same thing, but by smiling, the energy in my voice changed. Yes? Everybody got it? Everybody get that? Pretty obvious? So it happens over the phone. You didn't have to see me. You didn't have to see me to know that I was smiling. You don't necessarily have to know that I'm smiling, but you did know that the energy changed when I was. So when you're talking to somebody on the other end of the phone and you're smiling and you're confident and you have a great attitude about what you're doing, that's going to be conveyed to them. This stuff is contagious, you guys. You can't not transmit it to someone else. You and your vibration, your whatever you want to call that, your demeanor, your personality, you're either raising or lowering anyone with whom you're communicating, right? Or anyone around you. Same thing is true for you. Anybody around you is either raising or lowering you based on their energy. And if you are around people who are really like low energy and depressing and you have to be conscious of that, and you have to shield yourself from that and go on being your merry, happy self anyway, so that you can keep your energy up. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let me go back to our list. So that was tone of voice. That was habit of smiling. Okay, facial expression. So again, this is kind of like the same thing, right? We're working with people over the phone, but you can tell the difference if my facial expression is here versus my facial expression being here. It's a different tone of voice. It affects everything from the muscles in your face to down through your vocal cords, and it also affects your mental state. Remember, we're mostly about mindset on this training. So tolerance. There's 25 of these, by the way, guys. I'm hoping that you guys are taking some notes, because this is really important stuff. Tolerance. So being patient and fair and understanding about the opinions and practices and beliefs of other people. Again, I haven't in my lifetime that I remember lived in a time where this was more important than it is now. We don't have to see eye to eye, but we do need to accept that each other has the right to have our beliefs, whatever they are. Frankness of manner and speech. So everybody resents people who use subterfuge or kind of it doesn't deal directly with people, their associates, their friends, their business, people, whatever it is. So, if you have good character, you have the courage to speak and deal with people directly and accept the consequences of that. And again, if you have a positive mental attitude and you're following these other things, you're going to attract people who have these qualities. And that's the people you want to attract. Like, who do you really want to work with? If you stop and think about it, who do you really want to work with? You want to work mostly probably with people like you. That's who we get along with the most. Again, it's going to be displayed here shortly. A keen sense of humor. Okay, so a well-developed sense of humor aids you in becoming flexible and adaptable to the varying circumstances of life. Don't feel like you have a great sense of humor? Well, go learn a few jokes and practice in front of the mirror on how to deliver those. You can work on creating and improving any aspect of anything in your life. Number 13 on the list, faith in an infinite intelligence. So whatever that means to you, is that, that can mean God or Jesus or whatever. It can mean, Buddha or Krishna or the universe or, whatever that means to you. There is clearly something bigger than us at work here. So whatever you believe is okay, but believe in it and have faith in it. A keen sense of justice. So, and not just for, not having balance just for the purpose of gaining, material gains, but having a sense of fairness and justice actually enhances every relationship. Language and the appropriate use of words. I'm going to move through fairly quickly because I really want to spend more time with the second part of this. Appropriate use of words, effective speech. So enthusiasm is the core element of any speech, any delivery of speech. We've touched on this with the smiling, with the tone of voice. It's very important. Having a great energy in your voice is going to convey your message more effectively, even over the phone, which again is pretty much where we spend our time. Emotional control. So, don't get too burned up with excitement. Don't get too on the other end of manic, on the depressing side. Just, find some balance, obviously a flow, but find some balance in there. Don't be somebody who's, prone to explosions of anger, or even on the other end of the spectrum, explosions of tears or that. I'm just not that there's anything wrong with expressing that level of emotion, but clearly you want to be able to control that and know when the time is right to express an appropriate emotion. Alertness of interest. Okay, so people are interested in you when they understand that you're interested in them. If you can't do that, if it's all about you, enough about me. Now, what do you think about me? It's if you take it in a sincere interest in other people, then you're going to find that they're more attentive. You're going to develop a better rapport, and there's just you will absolutely make a better connection. Versatility. No matter how much you know about your field, you should always be open to somebody else's point of view. And this is the concept, again, something that was coined by Napoleon Hill as the mastermind concept. I've branded my whole business around it, Mastermind Mentor. The mastermind, where any more than two people are in the same space, there's this universal mind, this other mind that comes into place that adds to the conversation, that makes the whole room smarter, if you will. By us having all these people on here now, it's raising the vibration of the entire space. We're bringing in that, that universal mind, whatever you choose to call that. That can be, whatever. You name the name, or don't even name it a name. That shall remain nameless. It is there. It is communicating through you and with you. Okay, have a fondness for people. Sorry, I've got my text is just blowing up over here. So I'm going to see if I can turn this off. Okay, there we go. That should be better. Okay, apologize for the interruption. Okay, so fondness for people, humility, effective showmanship doesn't necessarily mean grandstanding or just, even being like the class clown or the center of attention. But, know what's in your personality that you can push forward to be effective and show that you're confident, show that you have the ability to help the people that we're reaching out to, because that's really, at the end of the day, that's the ultimate goal. And the last three here, clean sportsmanship. So, if you're going to be competitive and you want to win, then win without bragging, lose without whining, and other people will respect you a lot more for that. We're going to get into a little bit of this. A good handshake. Okay, this is, again, most of the time we're not doing this in a, over the phone, but I'll share with you, there's an energetic way to give someone a good handshake. It's with your tone. It's with the structure of your words. It's with your confidence. So it's a simple skill, but it is incredible what kind of a first impression you make with somebody with your first handshake. I have 4 boys, and one of the first things I taught them at a young age is how to shake someone's hand. It's really important. And the very last one is just a general sense. It's personal magnetism. So again, what is this to you? So you can channel your own energy into efforts that make you and not just your body or your face, the source of appeal to others. All these things we talked about here today, those all contribute to your personal magnetism. And the things I'm going to teach you next are going to put the icing on the cake. Eric, do you want to chime in with any comments on any of that? And let me get a chance to just take a drink here so I can move on to the next phase.
Go ahead and take a drink, but I think that's it's all really, relevant and and important just to start to become more aware of how you relate personally to these different areas that Jeff was just talking about. And I was just trying to add in the chat just some comments, some key comments that I heard, that resonated with me, just so that I could relate that to everybody.
Cool. Yep, I see all that. Appreciate it. By the way, do we have any guests that are on the line today? If you are a guest, would you please either unmute yourself and say hello, or just type into the chat, let us know if you're a guest and also who invited you to be here. That would be great to know, because guests are always welcome on these calls, and we'd love to have you. Okay, I don't see anyone at the moment, but we will welcome you if that opportunity arises. So, okay, so now let's get into some real practical application of all this. And this is stuff, I'm going to totally geek out on this, you guys, so you're going to have to just bear with me. This is an area where I particularly have studied this across a lot of different spectrums, and I love this stuff. So what I want to do is bring this down to something that's easy for you to apply, that hopefully with what we talk about here today, you can actually apply it to your next conversation that you have in life, whatever it is, whether it's personal, business, or whatever. So I'm going to share my screen. And let me see here. Okay, I think this is the one. And I want to do, okay. Are we seeing my screen? We should be, right?
Yeah.
Everybody see Brian Tracy?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys hear me talk about this over and over and over. We can have all the automation in the world. We can have all the cool technology and slick little things that do follow-up for us. And at the end of the day, it's really all about relationships, right? At the end of the day, it's a people business. Every business is a people business. This is Brian Tracy. If you don't know who he is, and you're on this call, I don't know, maybe you've been living in a cave until today. I'm not sure, but he's like
Google him if you don't know.
Yeah, Google him. Yeah, exactly. He's one of the current living godfathers of personal development and sales training. So, yeah, every business is a people business. So then how important is it for us to develop relationships with people? Because, we talk about numbers games, lead generation, when X number of leads go through the system, and that's going to turn into blah, 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 blah. And all of those things are true. But at the end of the day, it's not a numbers game. It is always going to be a people game. So is selling, and we're going to talk about this from the perspective of selling. And I want to frame that, because selling is any conveyance of an idea to another person. Okay. So let's just call selling that. It's not about getting the money from someone for a sale specifically. Obviously, that's part of the process. But I would venture to say that if you're married or in a relationship, you're in the sales business. If you have kids, you're definitely in this. You're either selling or you're being sold, or both most of the time. Selling is just the conveyance of an idea. Now, I do a completely different training on the connection to selling and what's going on in your head about that. We're not going to do that today. But is selling an art or a science? Well, I would venture to say that it's both. And there's a lot of science, there's a lot of brain science behind why people do the things that they do. But this is not a new concept, you guys. Okay, this goes back a long, long way. As far as we can track it, it goes back to Hippocrates, who you probably know is the father of medicine. Okay, the great-great-great-great-great-grandfather of medicine. He actually used something called the 4 temperaments in his medical practice to diagnose his patients. And it was based on different personality types, and in his case also partially physical types, but there was a lot of personality component involved with that. So, personality is not a new thing. Millions of people have taken some type of a personality assessment. Please type into the chat if you've taken a personality test before. And if you have, tell me what, because there's all kinds of different ones out there. There's the DISC, which I used to live and die by the DISC. I had everybody that came into my team take the DISC profile. It's fantastic for learning a lot about you, but I'll get into more later about why it's important to move that bar a little bit. There's Keirsey, there's the Myers-Briggs, color codes, all kinds of different color codes. There's the animal codes, lions and tigers and bears. Or in this case, what is it? Lions and otters and dogs and beavers or whatever, I don't know. So, but there's lots of different ways to assess a personality. But what I want to do, let me just look at this. Yes, DISC, Myers-Briggs, yeah, see, I just want to look. DISC, color code, did it in nursing school, DISC, temperaments, Myers-Briggs, and many more, color code, Myers-Briggs. Okay, so really common that you go through these things. We're actually, right now, I think Eric's, are you listening to Fascinate as well? I definitely want to get into that. This is like how your personality is perceived in the world. That's also a topic that's a separate part of this whole concept. We're not going to get into it today, but listening to a book called Fascinate right now, which is fascinating. So, all right. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, actually. It's pretty cool. It kind of ties it all together for me, having looked at this from a lot of points of view. All right. All right. I have screens open all over the place here, and I need to give myself some room to see what I'm doing. Give me a second, you guys. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's talk about the science. Now, this particular mode, what's going on here? This particular mode that I'm going to talk about today is called BANK. If you've ever heard of BANK, let me know. Most people probably haven't. BANK is an acronym. Guess what, you guys? Anybody who knows me knows about me and my acronyms. This isn't mine. It's actually developed by a friend of mine named Sherry Tree. She's recently put out a book about it as well. I spent a couple of years getting certified and trained in this particular methodology because this is what I love about BANK and this particular style. And again, this is going to be an illustration of an example of how you can use personality effectively. But what I particularly like about BANK is that not only is it personality based, but it's people focused and it's profit driven. So it's designed to help you to make more money. So in BANK, all those personality types like D, I, S, and C are broken down into 4 basic components called B, A, and K. That stands for blueprint, action, nurturing, and knowledge. I also particularly find these very descriptive words that make it easy to understand likely what that big sort of umbrella is going to be for that basic personality type. Now, clearly, we all have components of all 4 personality types. And in fact, there's actually probably, if you use only 4 types of any particular program, there's actually 24 different combinations of possibilities. So you're going to have your dominant, which is the way you lead in the world. You're going to have also, your secondary, your tertiary, your fourth as well. So everybody has all of this, but you lead from one. And if you can learn to adapt to the other 3, you're going to have dramatic changes happen in your life. Tony Robbins said, let your prospect determine your presentation. Let that sink in for a second. Let your prospect determine your presentation. What does that mean? I mean, we have a script and we just read the script and we do our thing, right? That's true. And you can use the same script over and over and over with different individuals of different personality types. But where you focus your attention in that script for different personality types will change the game for you. Okay? So here's why. So here's the most common mistake that people make. If you don't this is like before you understand personality or before you understand BANK, and then after. Sorry, I almost spilled something. I'm talking with my hands here. I must have been Italian in another life. Okay, so 25% of the time, or 1 out of 4 times, you're going to deliver the right script. Why? Because 1 out of 4 times, you're going to be matching up with your own personality type. Because if there's 4 types, just generally speaking, 1 out of 4 times, you're going to run into the same person or the same type of personality that you are. But what does that also mean? Well, it also means that 3 out of 4 times, or 75% of the time, you're going to be delivering the wrong script or the wrong style of delivering your script. Is that making sense? Okay, so how can you fix that? Well, here's actually something that's actually a little bit more.
Jeff, I have a question.
Yes.
Regards to the, aren't there different percentages of people that are different? Different?
Yes, that's a good point. I'm speaking in real general terms.
Okay, all right.
But they're a lot closer than you think. So you'll be happy to know, Eric, that actually A's, nurtures and actions are, there's slightly more in percentage of population than are the other two. All right, but check this out, guys. This came from Chally Group, which was is a research organization. Only 18% of buyers, I'm going to do this slowly so you can really get this, okay? Only 18% of buyers will buy from a salesperson who doesn't match the buyer's personality, versus 82% success when personality types are aligned, okay? So that kind of blows that 1 out of 4 figure out of the water a little bit. Actually makes it more like 1 out of 5 chances, okay? So, all right, well, I'm a particular personality, so I guess, if I'm just going to deliver that way, I guess I'm just going to have to do a lot more numbers so that I can beat that 18%. No. What you need to do is learn to adjust how you deliver, okay? And if you do it right, and if you get, properly trained, eventually, you can really get this down. But you're going to learn some things today that you can use literally right now. But, if you master this science, this is going to help you to close more, up to 300% more, because simply by just making a little shift in the way that you deliver your script. So let's talk about the system. Again, there's a lot of different systems. I'm talking about one specifically just because I know it really, really well. And I found it to be the most effective in terms of what we're using and what we're doing. So we'll start with the blueprint. So the blueprint is, you can even imagine from the name of it.
Jeff, before you get into that, just one thing. This is the only one that I'm aware of that's all of the rest of them are kind of self-assessments. You're assessing yourself,
right,
and how you relate to the world. This is the only one that I've seen that is assessing the person you're talking to.
Right.
You're on the fly assessing that person and modifying how you're talking to them based on their personality type.
Exactly. And you know what? That's a really great point, Eric, because everybody loves to know more about themselves, right? We talked about this earlier. If you are interested in someone else, they're going to be more interested in you. Everybody loves to learn more information about themselves. We like to read it in our horoscopes. The DISC profile is great for that. Myers-Briggs as well. You read it and it's like, oh yeah, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. So what? So you can learn more insights about yourself, but how does that help you to have better relationships unless you get someone else to take that test and you get to read it, right? So what Bank does that's different, like Eric pointed out, is allows you to quickly assess what the other person's likely behavior patterns are, personality patterns, buying patterns, whatever that may be, and then structure accordingly, okay? So let's talk about the values of a blueprint. And I'm going to have to move through this fairly quickly. We got about only 20 minutes left. Okay, so again, you think about blueprint, you think about, what does that mean? Like, what is a blueprint? It's, something an architect uses. Like, you can't just like go off the rails of a blueprint, right? You can't, okay, well, I decided I'm going to put this wall here instead of there. Forget the blueprint. I'm doing it my way. Okay, well, then maybe the house is going to fall down because it's a load-bearing wall, right? So that's what I'm talking about when I talk about blueprints. So the values of a blueprint, and there are 12 values they've determined for each one of these personalities. So stability, structure, systems, planning, processes, predictability, responsibility, duty, rules, credentials, titles, tradition. Now, when I talk about credentials and titles, I'm talking about like letters behind their name. That's the blueprints love that kind of stuff, right? They like to get, the MBA or the PhD or the ABCDE or whatever that is that's at the end of their title. They love that sort of thing, and they respect that as well. So if you have credentials and titles and things that blueprints would respect and acknowledge, and you're talking to a blueprint, it would be a great thing to share with them. How do you know when you're talking to a blueprint? Well, it's pretty easy to ask just a few questions to kind of determine that, you're going to usually hear it in their voice. And by the way, I want to share something with you guys. Some people are pretty loose about appointment times. Blueprints are not people you want to be loose with appointments on. With a blueprint, on time is late, okay? So, be a couple minutes early, but definitely be right on time. Now, I will tell you that blueprint of the 4 is my my lowest. I have like a really close number between each one of them, but Blueprint is my lowest. And I've had to learn to be on time for appointments, because we'll talk about my personality and Eric's next, my primary. Okay, so stability, structure, systems, planning. So when you're talking to somebody about our program, you don't want to use terms like opportunity. I'm calling you back about the opportunity. Opportunity in the mind of a Blueprint means risk, okay? Something new, unproven. All right, you want to talk about stability. Like, this is a company that's been, that's been around for, what have we been, like 2 years now, right? We've been around for 2 years. We've had, numerous people that have gone through our system and processes. You can even use these words with Blueprints, okay? We're going to build a structure for you that's going to help you to run your systems, even if you can't be there to run them yourself. That kind of language, okay? You want to stick, and you want to also be like, you don't want to be, oh man, we're having so much fun and making so much money. That's not, Blueprints don't respond to that. That's risky behavior to them. Right? So now it's not that Blueprints are necessarily all stuffy and rigid. It's not even necessarily about that. I love the Blueprint personality. Every personality has its merits and its downsides. A Blueprint this is just a way you need to communicate with this particular person. When you do, they will respond to you with, open arms, essentially. They may not hug you, but they'll respond to you with open arms. They'll respond positively. The goal here in our systems, obviously, is just to get people to the next step in the system. So first goal, first rule, get people to the webinar, get people to the presentation. So if you can't structure your language in such a way that's going to be intriguing to a Blueprint, you may lose that person in the process. All right, so I'm going to use greetings just so you can, again, kind of anchor the idea of what each of these personalities are. But before I bring this up, what do you think is the type of greeting that a Blueprint might use? Blueprints love structures. Oh, Eric here just kind of summon things up. What do you think? Like, if you were to meet a Blueprint, what do you think you're going to do?
Handshake.
Handshake. You got it. And there it is. There it is. Okay, so notice, not just a handshake. Look at this. This is a firm handshake. These are guys in suits. There's a little bit of a, like as I talked about earlier in the handshake, when we were talking about pleasing personality, one of the first things I taught my kids is how to give a good handshake. That kind of, have you guys ever, everybody's done this, shake somebody, look at Anne's like cringing, just with me doing this, like the little cold fish handshake. Ew! Like, I'd rather just don't touch me at all, right? Same deal. So, yeah, so the Blueprint is a handshake. So again, that kind of anchors, what is a Blueprint all about? Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on to the next one. This is the one Eric will like the most. Action. All right. So what's an action personality? Well, you can see here, the rocket blowing out of the box. So let's use the box as an analogy, okay? So if a action is somebody blowing out of the box, you think a Blueprint is inside the box or outside the box? Like thinking in the box or out of the box?
In the box,
right? In the box. Don't go outside of my little boundaries unless you want to pay the consequences, right? With an action, it's like, box, what the hell is a box, right? It's a different thing altogether. You can see the microphone here. You see a lot of action personalities. You'll see as entertainers, personalities, speakers, trainers, rock stars, that kind of thing. Not always, but you see that a lot. Okay, so what are the values of an action person? So freedom, flexibility, spontaneity, action, opportunity. So here's where you can say the word opportunity, and it's like, opportunity, I'm there, baby. What do I got to do? Sign me up. Excitement, attention, stimulation. We love to be stimulated. Competition. We love to win. Winning. Fun. And image too. Image. This is like really important, guys. If you're going to meet with an action personality face to face, and you have the Louis Vuitton or the whatever the labels are, wear them. Wear them. They're going to see that stuff and go, oh, I like this person already. And here's another thing too. Do you think action personalities, let me ask this directly to Eric. Do you think action personalities are interested in knowing every little detail about every little thing in your business and all this? Look at him. He can't even stand.
Get to the point. Get to the point. Give me the highlights.
Bullets, baby.
Stop talking.
How much money can I make? How quick can I make it? What kind of car can I drive? Show me. Okay, so if you're an action personality and you get
Heard enough. Let's get started.
Yeah, right. Like shut up and listen. Sign me up. So, right. So yeah, and I can see your lips moving, but you're muted. So if you wanted to say something, you're welcome to unmute. But yeah, bottom line is that if you are an action personality and you're talking to an action personality, piece of cake, no problem. But if you're an action personality talking to a blueprint, you better reel yourself in, baby, and settle down, calm down, keep it. Remember that tone of voice thing we talked about. Keep that tone going. I think we're going to go a little over, guys. If you're okay with that today, we're going to go a little bit over.
Just to add to that, if you're a blueprint talking to an action person, what do you need to do? They don't want to know all the details. They're falling asleep when you're going through. Give them the highlights and let them take action.
Exactly. Even if it's completely against your normal grain. That's the whole point of this conversation, you guys. You got to go outside of your own box, whatever that is, even if you're already outside the box. If you're in action talking to a blueprint, you need to jump in the box and just live in the box for that conversation. You want to keep your voice tone calm and centered, and you want to make sure that you talk about things that mitigate or limit the risk that they might be taking. You want to talk about successes in the sense that we have a track record. We have these kinds of people are involved in our business. We have CPAs, we have MBAs, we have people with credentials. Right? With an action personality, man, I was able to make $300,000 in my first 16 months. I paid off my car. I'm looking to buy a new house this year. Like, oh, dang, I'm in. Sign me up. Okay. All right. So let's go back to the greeting again. I mean, actions are, look, honestly, guys, actions probably are the easiest to read because like they explode into a room. They will explode into the room on the telephone too. They want to be the center of the world, the center of attention. And again, that may rub you the wrong way personally, but you want actions on your team. When you close a sale with an action, they're going to go out and take care of business. And that's just the way it is. So what kind of greeting do you think we might use for an action personality? What do you?
A hug. That was a hug.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's going to be more of the next one. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
High five, baby.
There it is. Now he's got it.
Solid. Give me one of these. Boom.
Boom. Yeah. Fist bump. High five. All right. Awesome. All right. We're getting it. So are you guys starting to see like why this stuff is important? And if you've never thought about this before, you've always been delivering from your key personality type. Always. You default to it. You will always default to it. Okay. And I know some people are already thinking, oh my gosh, I can just see where I lost this person. When I was talking to this prospect, I had this really great prospect on the line. She sounded like she was really interested. And then all of a sudden it was just poof. It just fizzled into nowhere. Just kind of like the in the what's I can't think of the name of the movie where they had the code thing that was going to break and with God, I'm sorry, I totally spaced it. That's all right. I don't have time to go into it. All right. So the next one is N, nurturing. The next one is nurturing. So you can see flowers and love and I'm not saying this facetiously, you guys. This is a beautiful and powerful personality type to have, again, in your team, on your organization. Using our box analogy, so if a blueprint's inside the box and an action is outside the box, well, a nurturer is most likely to like recycle the box, right? We're going to recycle the box. The nurturers are very conscious of everything going on around them. So let's talk about the values of a nurturer. So they're all about relationships and authenticity and personal growth. Nurturers love these Friday calls. And by the way, Eric and I are both action personalities, but we're also very high nurturers, and they literally shift and go back and forth. And anybody who's been around these trainings has probably observed that now that I'm bringing it up. Moving in and out of like excitement and fun to, support and relationship and community, because that's what we're really all about. That we're like both very, very close in those two types. So personal growth, significance. So significance in the sense, not it's about me, but about making a mark in the world or leaving a legacy, that type of significance.
Hey, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Paula had a question, which back to action.
Mm-hmm.
The question was, how do you reconnect with an action personality after she is gone, after they've
Great
like,
question.
disappeared.
So Paula, this has happened to you then, it sounds like. So with an action personality, Eric, wow, man, something really cool and new just happened in our business. I wanted to share it with you.
Really? That's exciting. What is it all about?
Well, like you were really fired up about the business at one point, but you were concerned, like maybe how, and this is, I'm just making things up, right? So you were concerned about how maybe we would have not many people who could really qualify at those high levels, like you were thinking about coming in. Well, we've just added this thing called Coaching for Life. It's an entry level position that allows people to get started, get part of our community, earn while they learn, and get rolling. What do you think about that?
Yeah, give them something new, give them something exciting, something different than what you've talked to them about. That's super exciting, but don't cover it in detail. Cover it high level and let them take action.
Bullets. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, where was I? Teamwork. So we all, nurturers love to be part of a team or part of an organization, or know that, teamwork makes the dream work, right? And involvement. So deeply involved with anything that they do in the community. Charity, ethics are really, really important to Blueprints. Harmony. So, Blueprint, I'm sorry, did I say Blueprints? Nurturers. Yeah, nurturers. Nurturers, really want there to be, again, I don't want it to make this sound negative, but like, that sort of hold hands and sing kumbaya feeling, we're all connected and we want to stay connected and we want to have harmony in the group. And, whenever there's disruption, it just really goes to the heart of the nurturer. They just can feel that at the heart level. Anne, you're one of the few people I can see on my screen right now. And I'm just watching your body language and I'm thinking, and I already had kind of a feeling, but I think you're probably in the nurturing category. Most likely is first and foremost. You think?
I think nurturing is. I think nurturing is
later.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
I think nurturing is extremely powerful and extremely great asset to have.
No doubt. And I mean, I love that whole personality type. I really relate well to it. So harmony, morality, contribution. So. You always want to be impeccable with your word. Do what you say what you're going to do what you're going to, do what you say you're going to do. Those things are really important with a nurturer. They may not care much of whether you're on time for the appointment, but they want you to show up. And, the things that they're going to be interested in, you want to emphasize our community, what we do in the world. You might talk about like the building the homeless project homes up in Seattle that a bunch of the mentors did last year and things along that line. This is the kind of things that we do. But you don't want to put on a game face. You want to be totally authentic. Talk about, you want to talk about the how we support our community. You want to talk
about the live events.
The live events, the success calls. Success calls is where we really all get together to help everyone to be more successful. And this is the mark that we're making in the world. So those kind of conversations. So now we'll talk about the greeting for the nurturer. And we already kind of let the cat out of the bag, but that's the hug. All right. Nurturers cannot get enough hugs. And I actually learned something through bank training, and I'd have to have someone here to do it because I can't remember which side it is now. But the way you probably naturally hug is probably the opposite way that you should, because a real nurturer wants to hug from whichever the arm position is, and you have to experiment with this, but to where your hearts are more connected. So like there's one hug where you're a little off to the side and one where you're dead center, whichever the arm cross is, and the one where you're dead center is the one that a nurturer will most respond to. And I learned that from a nurturer, believe it or not. Okay, and now we come into arguably maybe one of the more challenging, because the knowledge personality, again, using our box analogy, so blueprint inside the box, action outside the box, nurturer recycle the box. So a knowledge person developed the box, invented the box, right? They're an idea people, but they're also they
want to know everything that's in the box, right? They want
to know every last detail. So let's go through those values. So they're all about learning and intelligence, logic, self-mastery, technology, research and development, science, universal truth. So truth that extends across all opinions, basically. Expertise, competence, accuracy, and they always look at the big universal picture. A lot of people, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people will walk away from a knowledge personality before the sale gets done because they are, what's the right word I'm looking for? It's not a needy thing. It's like they have to know every detail. They have to understand the mechanics of it. And a lot of people don't have the patience for that, especially A personalities, right? It's like, wow, really? So with a knowledge personality, you're going to want to have data available for them. Not that you're going to need to know it off the top of your head, but maybe have some things you can point to. They're going to love the technology that we have, the automation, the fact that we have this outsourcing component, that we're about learning and self-mastery. Those things are things you want to emphasize with a knowledge personality. You want to talk about our technology and how that technology works to help us to, be able to have the freedom that we want to do, that we want to have in our lives.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You want to point them to resources and let them consume it at their own rate, at their own level. And you're probably never going to close them.
Never. You will not close. Okay. I'm sorry.
They close themselves. They'll get started. Because
they are the self-proclaimed smartest person in the room. Okay. So when you've got somebody like that, you want to just load them up with data and then be patient and let them come to their own conclusions. They're going to come to you with a lot of questions. Make sure you have resources to go to with questions. And they tend to have a lower key personality as a general rule. Obviously, again, we have combinations of all these personalities, but as a general rule, they tend to be lower key. So a lot of times they're like very flat in the way they communicate. They speak, almost like Spock in a computer, or whatever, like that. And so that can feel like that person doesn't like me. Okay. But that's not it. That's not it. They have the capacity to like you and love you and whatever, but they don't express it in the same way that you do. So, so again, our greeting, we have one kind of little joke greeting that we use, but anybody have any guesses on what a greeting might be for a K, for a knowledge personality? I gave you a hint a second ago.
Oh, Spock.
Live long and prosper, baby. Actually, that's kind of a joke, but K's, again, not negatively, because look, I got a really high K, so I'm totally geeking out on this right now. Like, I'm a nerd when it comes to certain things, technology wise and whatever. But this particular group tends to be the ones that play Dungeons and Dragons as kids and are really into certain types of programming and really into like cryptocurrency. Knowledge people are really into cryptocurrency because of the technology and the things that are behind it. So, but really, realistically, this is something that I actually experienced at an event, at a very large event that was really sort of, actually, Eric, we were both there together. It was that blockchain event that we went to in San Jose.
Okay.
So people are like, they don't want to shake your hand. They don't want to touch you. Okay.
They'll hand you a card.
They will hand you a card, but more than that, they will push your hand away while they're handing you the card. This is who I am. Now don't touch me. Okay. So it's not a freak thing. It's just like, that's who they are as a personality. Now you can take that as, I'm really put off by that, or you can understand that there are a certain percentage of people in the world that's who they are.
Richard has a question. What percentage of the population is each of these?
Richard, I do not have that data right off the top of my head, but I can provide it for you if you'll give me some time.
That may betray my knowledge.
Like, okay, so guys, after going through this, even if you read through the questions, you can probably start to get a feel from the people who are asking questions what kind of personality they are. Like, what are they interested in knowing next?
Jeff, one of the things I thought about is this, and when we asked the question, what do you do for a living?
Yes. That
opens the door right there to understand.
It does. That's a really, really good point. And I was actually going to bring that up, and I'm glad you did, because, you got to ask yourself, like, there's questions I could ask you, like, well, Richard, do you have a home office, Richard?
I do.
Is your home office like really organized and everything kind of set just so? And
everything's in its place.
Okay. So that's a very high blueprint thing. Whereas like I don't know what Eric's office looks like right now. I know that an action personality, because that we're going to see him, he's going to have everything looking just so around, but his desk might look like an explosion hit it. No, that's pretty clean. He looks pretty cool. Oh, there it is. So that's how an action gets ready for a presentation. And this is being very transparent. You just take the desk and just go, okay. Yeah. So Richard, that would drive you crazy, right? You would lose your mind with that, right?
Yeah, but there are places in my house that are a mess. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's look, again, we all have all of these traits that go on with us. And there's actually an assessment that you can do, a test that you can take will determine a number for each one. So in the original test, it was like out of a 50-point assessment, I'm in the 40s on all four, and I only have 5 points difference between my top and my bottom. So we started jokingly calling that like the movie Divergent, the movie Divergent, which talks about as the different personality factions. Well, that's a divergent. So some people will have that kind of component. Some people will have almost no blueprint and all action. And, those are the kind of people that, will probably have a really hard time relating to a lot of other personalities. So
actually, I have a splattering of all of them.
We all do.
That's the point. We all do. So
it's a question of which one is higher or lower,
Right, exactly. And here's a way that you can determine that. If you took notes on the values, and we actually have there's a couple ways you can assess it. Like I've got these little poker chips. And each one of them, I literally will be on the phone with these poker chips. I'll be on the phone with somebody, and I'll be sorting these chips according to what I think, according to the training that I've had in terms of personality, and then I'll start to adjust my conversation. We also have these cards, which make it really easy, because what you do is you just say, okay, take these cards, read the values on the back, and then order them in order of priority, top to bottom, what's most important to you or most like you versus what's least like you or least important to you. And they'll literally hand you back their personality type. Now, it's hard to do that over the phone, but there is actually also a tool that does this electronically that you can subscribe to. And I'm not here to talk about all that, but if you want to know more about it, you can reach out to me and I can share it with you. So, you can literally have somebody take an assessment if they're willing to do so beforehand, and you'll know. But once you go through some training on this, you can learn through courses like speed coding and whatnot. You can learn how to crack someone's code just by having a conversation with them and do it. So it's pretty fascinating stuff. I love it. Does anybody else have any questions? Did I cover all the questions? Let me just finish up by saying this. Obviously, it's.
You didn't answer. Well, you can answer roughly. I mean, what the higher numbers are.
Percentages?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like in the high 20s each for action. Actually, it's pretty close. It's pretty close to mid to high 20s for blueprint, action, and knowledge. Blueprint's third, knowledge is last in terms of the total overall percentages. And I don't know. I can find out.
Maybe 20 or just under for knowledge.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's the broad-based assessment, and then there's what you'll find when I give this personality test to people, I tend to get a lot of actions and nurturers because that's what I tend to attract. So, the results will be skewed toward where you are. But if you look at an overall assessment, the percentages are, I can look it up. I mean, if you really want to know the exact numbers, I can look it up because they have that. This has all been really very scientifically assessed, and it's even been proven by a white paper study recently that you can learn to predict buying behavior using this system. So that's pretty valuable stuff. And reach out to me and I will get you some information on how you can take the test. I'll get it for you. Okay. Am I missing any other questions, Eric? So,
no, we're good.
Yeah. So again, at the end of the day,
Paula wanted to get the PowerPoint presentation or somewhere. She wanted to have access to it somewhere. Maybe she just needs a link also.
I actually can't do that.
Yeah.
I can get you some more information, but I can't give you the PowerPoint. You have to be technically, part of their affiliate system or their
I'll watch this training video again.
Okay, yeah, we'll make sure to post it. All right, let me unshare here. Where's my button? Okay. All right, cool. Wow, look, we still have a lot of people here. I couldn't really tell while we were doing it. Clearly, you guys, I have my own personal attachment to this particular style. I came out of a DISC model. I've done Myers-Briggs. I just think it's really interesting. I love people, and I love to understand people and study people and know more about people. And the more you know, the more you can not only improve your relationships, but also increase your sales. And if you're in the sales business, these tools that can change the game for you. So if you guys have questions that you want to go deeper, take a deeper dive on this, you're welcome to reach out to me. I'll put my email address here in the.
Yeah, and I can say I know there's always a deeper level to go on all of this. That came to me privately, Jeff.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I just realized I didn't send it to everyone.
But to understand the base, concept of it, it's going to help you. And it's something you can implement. You should be, just from the knowledge you got, just in this 1 hour plus with Jeff, you should be able to take some of this and start implementing it, and just start thinking about how, if you understand what each letter stands for, kind of, figuring out what that person is like, based on, really, it starts just like Richard said with the first question you're asking, what do you do for a living?
Yeah, exactly.
How they answer that.
And you can ask other questions as well, that will help lead you to the answers that give you at least a reasonable assessment. But don't, be careful not to get obsessed with trying to determine somebody's personality type. You got to do this in the flow of what you're doing. If you start sounding like you're interrogating somebody, that's going to put off any personality. So, you have to do it in a way that serves them and serves you at the same time. Wow, heavy sigh. All right, guys, any other questions, anything else before we wrap up? I appreciate you guys staying a little extra here so I can finish this up in the way that I really wanted to.
Appreciate it.
Great.
Yeah, my
Thank
pleasure.
you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, well, I guess then we'll just wrap things up. Thanks for being here, you guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Finish strong Friday. Hashtag FSF. And we will talk to you again really soon.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bye, Paula. See you guys. Bye, Matt. See you guys. See you. Bye, everyone. Stephanie.